A private company is risking $70 million of its own money to find a plane that the governments of Australia, Malaysia and China already spent $150 million searching for and failed. No find, no fee. If they come back empty-handed, they eat every cent. On paper, it looks like corporate suicide. In reality, it might be the smartest business decision of the decade because the plane was never the point. What they're actually hunting for is worth billions, and almost nobody is talking about it. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished with 239 people on board. It became the greatest mystery in modern aviation. For nearly 3 years, a multinational coalition combed 120,000 square kilometers of the southern Indian Ocean. They used warships, towed sonar arrays, satellite data, and drift modeling. They spent $150 million. They found nothing of the aircraft itself. In January 2017, the governments officially called it off. The families were told the search was over. The mystery was frozen. Then, a year later, a company almost nobody had heard of walked into the Malaysian government and offered to do the entire thing again at their own expense. That company was Ocean Infinity, and their offer should have been laughed out of the room. In 2017, the governments gave up because the math was brutal. The original search used single-towed deep-water sonars. Massive sensors dragged slowly behind ships at a few knots. Weather delays were constant. Coverage was agonizing. It took 2.5 years to scan that initial zone. Every day at sea cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in ship fuel, crew wages, and equipment. When 3 governments with unlimited resources can't justify continuing, a private company definitely shouldn't be able to. But Ocean Infinity wasn't playing by the same rulebook. Founded in 2017, they were a marine robotics startup with almost no track record and a technology stack the incumbents had ignored. They proposed a deal so aggressive it made headlines. They would deploy their own vessels, their own crews, their own equipment, and search an even larger area than the governments had. If they found nothing, Malaysia paid $0. If they located the wreckage, Malaysia would pay up to $70 million. To most analysts, this looked like a publicity stunt destined to bankrupt them, because even if they won the prize, $70 million wouldn't come close to covering what a multi-month deep ocean search actually costs. The numbers simply did not add up, unless Ocean Infinity knew something the governments didn't. Here's what Ocean Infinity knew. The old search model was broken, and they had the replacement. Instead of dragging a single sensor behind a ship for years, they brought swarms of autonomous underwater vehicles, untethered robotic submarines that could be launched from the host ship and coordinate among themselves. Up to 8 AUVs working a grid simultaneously. Each one carried side-scan sonar, multi-beam echo sounders, and sub-bottom profilers. They could dive to 6,000 meters, map a patch of seabed, surface, and relay data back while the next drone went down. The numbers were staggering. In their 2018 search, Ocean Infinity mapped over 112,000 square kilometers of deep ocean floor in just 90 operational days, a job that previously took years, compressed into 3 months. This changed the financial equation entirely. If you can cover more ground faster, your daily burn rate drops and your odds of finding something climb. But there was still a problem. Even with revolutionary technology, the expected value of the deal looked shaky. If we assume Ocean Infinity had maybe a 30% chance of locating the wreckage, the math gives an expected payout of around $21 million. Their actual operational cost for that 90-day search was rumored to be north of $40 million. Any rational finance director would have killed the deal before it left the boardroom. Therefore, something else was paying for this expedition, something hidden inside the search itself, and when you understand what it was, the entire story flips upside down, because Ocean Infinity wasn't just hunting for a plane, they were hunting for something every government and tech giant on Earth was already quietly desperate to buy. The 2018 search ended in failure. After 90 days scanning an expanded zone of the southern Indian Ocean, Ocean Infinity did not find Flight 370. By the contract terms, they collected $0 from Malaysia. On the surface, it was a complete disaster. Tens of millions spent, no prize money. The families of the victims were left without answers. Headlines declared the mystery unsolvable, and yet something strange happened next. Ocean Infinity didn't collapse. They didn't retreat. They expanded. Within 18 months of that failed search, the company announced new contracts with offshore wind developers in Europe, survey work for major oil and gas companies, and mapping deals with national defense departments. Their fleet grew. Their valuation climbed. Investors poured in more capital. A startup that had just lost a $40 million bet was suddenly being treated like one of the hottest players in the deep ocean economy. The question nobody was asking loudly enough: how? Because while the world was watching them hunt for a missing plane, Ocean Infinity was quietly generating something far more valuable than the $70 million bounty. They were generating data, highly detailed three-dimensional maps of a part of the planet almost no one had ever seen. And the ability to generate that kind of data, it turns out, was the real product all along. The search was the ultimate proof of concept. The real target was proving they could unroll the map faster than anyone else. To understand why, you have to understand how little of our own planet we've actually surveyed. Mars has been mapped in high resolution. The Moon has been mapped in high resolution. The ocean floor, the surface of our own Earth, only about a quarter of it has been mapped to modern standards. The rest is a blank spot on the chart, and that blank spot is becoming the most valuable piece of real estate in the 21st century economy. There are two industries quietly racing to own it. The first is the global internet. Over 99% of international digital traffic, every video call, every bank transfer, every streaming service, every cross-border email runs through submarine fiber optic cables lying on the ocean floor. Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon are spending billions of dollars a year laying new intercontinental cables. But to lay a cable safely, you need hyper-accurate maps. You cannot drop a cable across an active hydrothermal vent, a deep trench, a seismic fault, or a jagged underwater ridge without risking a catastrophic break. A single severed cable can cost tens of millions to repair and knock out internet for entire regions. The telecom industry was starving for detailed seabed topography, and Ocean Infinity, during its very public failure to find a missing plane, had just generated one of the largest single datasets of uncharted deep ocean ever assembled by a private company. They had accidentally, or not so accidentally, walked into a market worth tens of billions. But this was only half of it. Then the gold rush started. The second industry quietly watching Ocean Infinity's survey ships was far bigger than subsea cables. It was the global race for critical minerals. Scattered across vast stretches of the deep ocean floor are polymetallic nodules, potato-sized rocks that took millions of years to form. These nodules are rich in cobalt, nickel, manganese, and traces of lithium, the exact materials required to manufacture electric vehicle batteries, grid-scale energy storage, and the entire infrastructure of the green energy transition. Some estimates put the total value of these seabed minerals in the trillions of dollars. Land-based mining for these metals is becoming politically toxic and environmentally devastating. Therefore, governments and energy conglomerates have pivoted hard toward the seabed. But here's the catch. You cannot claim a mining lease on a stretch of ocean floor you haven't surveyed. You cannot raise capital to extract nodules from a region you haven't mapped. The bottleneck in the entire deep-sea mining industry is high-resolution bathymetric data. And suddenly, there was a private company that had just proven in front of the entire world that it could map vast swathes of deep ocean faster and cheaper than any legacy defense contractor on Earth. Ocean Infinity didn't need to win the $70 million bounty. The search itself had become the greatest corporate audition in modern business history. Every maritime government, every tech giant, every mining conglomerate had been forced to watch them work. They saw the swarm technology perform. They saw the data quality. They saw the speed. By the time the 2018 search ended, Ocean Infinity's phone was already ringing, and the contracts that followed were worth multiples of what Malaysia had ever offered. The missing plane had served served its purpose, it had made the company famous. By 2024, Ocean Infinity wasn't a startup anymore. It was a dominant force in deep ocean telemetry, with a fleet of advanced robotic survey vessels and a client list stretching across governments, energy majors, and defense agencies, which is why their next move surprised almost nobody. They went back to the Malaysian government. They offered the exact same deal: no find, no fee. $70 million on the table if they located the wreckage of Flight 370, this time with an expanded search area based on new oceanographic drift modeling and refined satellite analysis. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim publicly signaled he was open to approving it. To outside observers, it looked like Ocean Infinity was taking another wild gamble on a cold case. But by now, you understand what is actually happening. The second search is about more than just the plane. It is also about refreshing the most valuable marketing campaign in deep ocean history. Every month, their ships are in the water under the global spotlight. They generate new data, new validation, new contracts waiting on the other side. Whether they find Flight 370 or not, they win, and the families of the 239 passengers are caught inside a business model that has quietly decoupled their grief from the outcome. The mystery might still get solved. It might not. Either way, the data keeps flowing, the maps keep filling in, and a company that started as a marine robotics gamble is now writing the rulebook for how the last unmapped quarter of our planet gets carved up. The question nobody can answer yet is who actually owns all of that seabed data once it's collected, and that fight has barely begun. The real story of MH370 isn't about a missing airplane anymore. It's about who controls the map of the ocean floor when the dust settles, and the governments haven't figured out the rules yet. If you want to see more, click here.